Hey everyone, welcome to Brush Drawing Week 4. I have everything set out for myself. If you do not already have your supplies, you're welcome to go back to Week 1 and look at your Getting Supplies video. I'll go over it very quickly here for you. You need to make sure you have a pencil, some sort of paint, whether it's a tube paint or whether it is a palette already created for you. You need to have your water, and you need to have, if you have a tube color, you need a plate or some sort of surface to put yours on. I recommend ceramic, it works really great. You need your brush, and you'll also need your paper towel. So let's go ahead and get started. This is our warm-up for week 4. And remember, last week we worked on line drawings, and the week before we worked on brush prints. So our warm-up is going to be a combination of the two of those. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to divide your paper in half. Make sure that your paper is horizontal, which means that the long side is up against your body and the short side is here on the two sides. We don't want to have it vertical, we want to have it horizontal for this particular exercise because we're going to be working on our lines. We want to make sure we have a nice long spot for our lines, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is, if you haven't already mixed your paint, go ahead and pause the video and come back to this. I've already got my paint mixed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and load up my brush and get started. We're gonna make some brush prints. You may start on the top or the bottom. I would like for you to do them in all different directions. You can see that I am doing mine a little bit slanted here, back and forth, putting those nice brush strokes down on the page. You may make sure that you are not touching the paper with your hand or your arm, that you are painting. The only thing that you can touch is with your pinky. You can see that I started to run out of paint here at the end of my brush strokes, brush prints. So try not to do that. But make sure that when you want your brush print to go this direction, that the handle of your brush is pointing the exact opposite, and then you flip it around to do it the other direction. These are just reminders from week 1 and week 2 when we practiced our brush prints. All right, so once you get about 2 lines of your brush prints in and you have practiced all different directions of your brush prints, I want you to go ahead and load up your paintbrush and we're gonna practice our lines. The first line that I want you to practice is a very thick line. So we're going to put quite a bit of pressure down. We're going to put all of our brush down onto the paper, and we're going to work on having consistency all the way across. Not touching anything to the paper other than our pinky if we absolutely need it, coming all the way across and lifting. I did have a little bit of trouble keeping that color there at the end, but that's okay. But I did have a nice consistency of that nice thick line all the way across the paper. Now let's try a medium line. So we're not going to push as hard as we did for the thick line. We're going to push just a little bit down, and then we're going to take it across. So this is a medium sized line. I'm doing about half of my brush all the way across. You can see about this much of my brush is going down onto the paper when I am doing a medium-sized line. It's going to be about half of the tip of my brush that's going down onto the paper. After you get a nice medium-sized line, I want you to try to do a thin line. Now, a thin line is probably the hardest. It's going to be pretty wavy at the beginning. Most of the time, it's just going to be just the tip of your paintbrush right there. Just that tiny little tip is gonna go down. I'm not gonna really put a lot of pressure. I'm just gonna kind of touch it to it and go across. The idea is not to have perfectly straight lines, but to have consistency all the way across in the thickness of your line. So keeping that same pressure all the way across. What we don't wanna do is start really thin and then push down a little bit and get a lot thicker and then come up. Right now we're working on that consistency of line. All right, everyone, so this is the second half of our warm-up. We are in the bottom part of our page, and we are going to be switching our directions with our lines. We're going to be practicing our up and down lines. So we're going to start at the bottom of the page down here, and I want you to make a nice thick line. Practice some thick lines. You can practice medium lines where you're getting half of that brush on the page. You can practice thin lines all the way to the top. As long as you're getting that consistency back and forth, that's perfectly fine. If you feel like you have got this down, you can try keeping a consistent pressure with a wavy line, like a snake. You can try it with a thickness, a thick brush. Try not to sprawl it out the way that mine is sprawling out. Try that again here. So nice thick pressure, but not so much. Remember, we're not touching the paper. We are simply moving with our wrists. You can rotate it with your fingers some if you need to rotate it with your fingers, but we're working on getting those nice lines on the paper. All right, so now I want you to go back and fill in these white spaces. Any of these like nice white spaces that you have, I want you to go back and fill in with your brush prints. These are always good warm-up exercises to get yourself going. And once you've got your paper filled up with these fun designs, you can go ahead and stop the video and move on to our project for this week.